All right, deep divers. Ready to dive in because today we're going deep on something, you feel every single day,
Mm-hmm.
but you probably don't really understand as well as you think.
Yeah,
Stress.
absolutely.
And get this, our source material is an interview with, he's a former surgeon turned well-being guru, Dr. Mario Alonso Puig.
Interesting.
And he suggested just maybe stress isn't actually the villain we've made it out to be.
Yeah, what's so fascinating here is that Dr. Puig, and he spent his career really trying to understand the human body and the mind and connection. He completely reframes how we should even be thinking about stress.
Okay.
And he introduces this idea of eustress.
Eustress.
Think about it like this, that feeling when you're challenged. You're a little outside your comfort zone, but it's a good thing.
Right.
Like you're like, yeah, this is good for me. That's eustress.
Okay, so like that nervous energy you get before a big presentation,
Exactly.
you're a bit jittery, but it can actually help you be more on point.
Precisely.
Right.
Your heart rate might be a little bit elevated.
Yeah.
You might feel a little keyed up, but that's actually your body releasing hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, priming you to be alert and focused.
It's like getting ready for action.
It is. It's
Yeah.
getting ready for action. This kind of stress, eustress, can be so motivating.
Okay.
It pushes us to learn. It helps us grow and adapt.
So it's like that saying, pressure makes diamonds.
Exactly.
Right.
Now, on the flip side, we have distress.
Okay.
And that is what most of us think of when we hear the word stress.
Yeah.
This is the chronic, overwhelming kind that leaves you feeling like just drained and defeated. It's like, remember that feeling you had last week when your inbox was overflowing? That project deadline was just looming over you?
Oh, yeah.
And you just felt completely overwhelmed?
Oh, tell me about it. My sleep was all out of whack. I was tossing and turning all night,
Yeah,
and I was so irritable. Is that what distress does to you?
absolutely.
It just messes with your body?
Distress throws our bodies into this constant state of fight or flight,
Oh, wow.
flooding us with those stress hormones long after the threat has passed.
Okay.
And this can lead to a whole cascade of physical and mental health issues, from sleep problems, digestive trouble, even to anxiety and burnout.
Okay, so this is where things get really interesting to me.
Okay.
Dr. Puig doesn't just label the types of stress, he dives into the why.
I like that.
Like, why is there so much distress in modern life? And he calls it the 3 disconnections.
Okay.
Disconnection from ourselves, disconnection from others, and disconnection from nature.
And what's really powerful about this is that this idea of the 3 disconnections, it resonates with ancient wisdom just as much as it does with modern science.
Right.
Humans are social creatures.
Yeah.
We are hardwired for connection. We thrive when we feel a sense of belonging, a sense of purpose, and that we're in harmony with the world around us.
So you're saying that feeling disconnected, whether it's from our own values, our own aspirations, or from meaningful relationships, or even from the natural world, that can actually contribute to chronic stress.
Exactly.
Wow.
And this disconnection, it shows up in our lives in so many ways.
Mhm.
Think about it. How often do you find yourself scrolling through social media, comparing yourself to others instead of really tuning into your own needs and desires?
Or sitting down to a meal with family or friends, and everyone's glued to their phones,
Yes.
instead of actually like having a genuine moment.
Exactly.
And I'm thinking back to this time that I actually left my phone at home,
Okay.
and I went for a hike, and I was forced to be present,
Yeah.
to notice the sights and the sounds around me.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. I felt so much calmer and more centered afterward. Is that what we're talking about?
That's a perfect example.
Okay.
Dr. Pivik actually shares this amazing anecdote about, wait for it, hugging a 2,000-year-old tree in England.
What?
Now, before you think that he's gone completely woo-woo on us,
A 2,000-year-old tree. You've got to admit, that's pretty wild.
but it's about more than just hugging, right?
Right.
Dr. Puig describes it as this symbolic act of like reconnecting with something ancient and grounding,
Mm-hmm.
something that reminds us of our place in the grand scheme of things.
Okay.
And in that moment, surrounded by the quiet strength of this tree, he was able to tap into this sense of peace
Yeah.
and perspective that kind of transcended all those everyday worries and anxieties that we all have.
So it's like hitting the reset button on your nervous system.
Exactly. And listen, I know not everyone has a 2,000-year-old tree in their backyard.
Right.
But the good news is you don't need ancient woodlands to experience these benefits of connecting with nature.
Yeah.
Even something as simple as taking a walk in a park.
Totally.
Really noticing the trees, the sunlight filtering through the leaves can be so restorative.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I know. When I'm feeling overwhelmed, even just stepping outside for a few minutes,
Yeah.
taking some deep breaths, it can make a world of difference.
Absolutely. And the research backs this up.
Really?
Studies have shown that spending time in nature can lower our cortisol levels.
Right.
That's the stress hormone we were talking about.
Right.
Reduce our blood pressure and improve our mood.
Wow.
It's like our bodies and our minds are hardwired to respond positively to the natural world.
So to connect the dots here, Dr. Puig is saying that feeling stressed and burned out might actually be a sign that we're deeply disconnected from ourselves, the people around us, and the natural world.
That's the heart of it.
Wow.
He's not suggesting that stress is all in our heads.
Yeah.
But he is suggesting that by addressing these underlying disconnections, that we can build resilience and develop much healthier coping mechanisms for dealing with the stresses of life.
Which inevitably happen.
Of course they do.
Okay, so we talked about eustress versus distress, so 3 disconnections. But let's get real about something burnout.
Yeah.
It's everywhere these days.
It is. And, Dr. Puig really emphasizes that while we may talk about it more these days, burnout isn't a new phenomenon.
Right.
This has been around for centuries, even if we didn't always have a name for it.
So for anyone listening who's thinking, wait, am I experiencing burnout? What are the telltale signs?
So burnout kind of manifests in a few key ways.
Okay.
Physically, you just feel completely drained, like no energy no matter how much sleep you get. You might have headaches, you might experience digestive issues, or even just get sick more easily because your immune system is just like, I'm out of here.
It's like your body is waving a giant red flag.
Exactly. And then there are the mental and emotional signs. You might feel cynical or detached.
Yeah.
Or just disillusioned about your work or even your life in general. You might have trouble concentrating, feel really irritable, impatient, or just have difficulty finding the motivation to do the things that you used to really enjoy.
So is there like a way back from burnout, or are we all just doomed to be these like crispy critters running around in the face of never-ending stress,
Yeah.
asking for a friend?
Don't worry, your friend is not doomed.
Okay, good.
Dr. Puig is a big believer in taking like a multi-pronged approach to this. He says we need to address it on 3 different levels: individual, collective, and structural.
Okay, let's break that down.
Okay.
What does individual action look like?
So it might sound really obvious, but self-care is so essential.
Yeah.
We're talking about the fundamentals here, like getting enough sleep, eating nourishing foods that actually make you feel good, incorporating regular movement into your day.
Yeah.
And, finding healthy ways to manage that stress, whether that's meditation, spending time in nature, listening to music.
It's like putting on your own oxygen mask first before helping others.
Exactly. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Right.
And this is where understanding those stress hormones is so crucial.
Okay.
When we prioritize self-care, we're actually helping to regulate those cortisol levels.
Okay.
And we're giving our bodies a break from that constant state of fight or flight.
Okay, so that's individual. What about the collective level?
Yeah, so this is where it becomes really crucial to foster supportive work environments.
Okay.
Imagine a workplace where people feel valued, they feel respected, they feel safe to take risks without the fear of being micromanaged or penalized for every little mistake.
That sounds amazing.
Right.
I mean, do such workplaces exist?
It starts with really fostering a culture of trust and open communication and collaboration.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that employees are humans, that they have lives and needs outside of work.
So it's a lot more than just like beanbag chairs and ping pong tables
Way more.
in the workplace.
It's about creating a space where people feel genuinely supported and empowered to be their best selves.
Okay, I'm sold. Now, what about that third level, the structural one? That sounds pretty big picture.
Yeah, this is about challenging those deeply ingrained and frankly unsustainable work practices.
Okay.
The expectation of being always on, working late into the night, sacrificing personal time, blurring those boundaries between work life and personal life.
So no more sneaky emails from the boss at 10 p.m. on a Saturday.
Ideally, no. Dr. Puig was highlighting companies that are really starting to walk the walk. They're incorporating mindfulness sessions into the workday.
Wow.
They're offering healthier food options. They're encouraging flexible work schedules. And even get this, they're setting boundaries on work-related emails and calls after certain hours.
I am definitely sending this episode to my boss.
Yeah.
Subtly, of course.
Good idea.
But shifting gears a bit,
Okay.
there's this other really intriguing idea that Dr. Puig talks about it. He calls it the pencil trick.
The pencil trick.
It sounds kind of like a magic trick,
Right.
but it's actually based on neuroscience.
This is where we get to talk about this fascinating part of the brain called the insula.
The insula.
Most people haven't even heard of it.
Right.
But it plays a huge role in how we experience both physical sensations and emotions. It's like the bridge between our bodies and our minds.
So what is this pencil trick? How do we do this brain magic?
So it's surprisingly simple. Researchers had participants hold a pencil in their mouths in 2 different ways.
Okay.
One group held it between their teeth, which kind of forced their facial muscles into a smile, even if they weren't feeling particularly happy.
Okay, I'm seeing where this is going.
Exactly. And then the other group held the pencil between their lips, which prevented a smile.
Mm-hmm.
Then both groups were shown a series of funny cartoons. And guess what? The group that had been smiling with the pencil actually found the cartoons funnier, and they reported feeling happier than those who hadn't.
So even though they were faking a smile, their brains were tricked into thinking they were genuinely happy.
Precisely, the insula was receiving signals from those smiling muscles.
Oh, wow.
And it essentially told the brain, hey, we must be happy. Look, we're smiling.
That is so wild.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
It makes you wonder about all the other ways that we can influence our emotional states.
Right.
Just by paying attention to our physical bodies.
Absolutely. And it really brings us back to Dr. Puig's emphasis on this holistic approach to well-being.
Yes.
It's not just about positive thinking. It's about taking care of our physical health, nurturing our relationships, finding ways to reconnect with the natural world. It's about creating a life that really supports our well-being on every level.
It's about thriving, not just surviving.
I love that.
Right.
And, one of the simplest yet most powerful takeaways for me was that idea of actually writing down your worries on a tiny piece of paper.
Oh, it's such a great visual, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It's like tricking your brain into thinking, oh, these problems aren't so big and scary after all.
Exactly. It's about shifting your perspective.
I can handle this.
Yes, and speaking of perspective, Dr. Puig leaves us with this incredibly thought-provoking idea, neuroplasticity.
Yes. The brain's incredible ability to change and adapt throughout life.
Even well into adulthood.
I love that our brains are not static.
They're not.
Which begs the question, if our brains are constantly being shaped by our experiences, what kind of brain do we want to cultivate?
What kind of brain do you want?
What a powerful question to leave you with today. Deep divers, think about it until next time.